And we are live from
Hey everyone.
from three separate places, two in Canada, one in Japan.
Yeah,
This is Tetsu.
this is what Langfest is all about, connecting people from all around the world that like languages and want to get together. So it's so much fun to do it once a year that we invented or came up with the idea of doing these Facebook Lives as a way to keep touch and to stay engaged, I guess, with one another. And this week is a very big week for Langfest. It's the week when we are launching our crowdfunding campaign in order to be able to help raise funds to hold our event. We are going to be able, because of the crowdfunding campaign that we're holding, we're going to be able to give tickets. We have about 100 or so tickets that we're going to give to people from different communities across the country in Montreal that would not necessarily have the means to be able to come to our event. It helps make it accessible to everyone. So with that, we have someone today, a very special guest, an individual, a young man called Azrin Raju, that we had the pleasure of meeting last year for the first time in Langfest and in I guess, through a series of fortuitous events, I guess, came to find out about Langfest, went online, got in a campaign, got a couple of his friends to come over with him and stuff like that, all the way from Calgary. We thought he was a really, really great individual and very avid language learner. And I don't know how many languages you speak now, Azrin, but I know you're on the path to be definitely someone that will have quite a big repertoire behind him in a few years. We've been following you, or at least I've been following you online, and I saw that you've been traveling a lot this year. You went to Asia and things like that. And Azrin, is also going to be presenting at Langfest this year. So lots of very interesting stuff coming up, and we'd like to, I guess, give him an opportunity to talk to us a little about that. So, Azrin, what's been happening since we last saw you last August?
I guess that's a long time ago.
In 20 seconds.
So, give us the short, the short version of it, I guess. I know you've been traveling.
Yeah, the main things have been probably traveling to India for 2 months. That was a really big one.
Yeah.
It was a last minute decision as well, because I wasn't planning on it at all, actually, until I was at my aunt's house, sitting watching. I think it was it the Grey Cup? It was the Grey Cup, I think. And randomly, I think we're talking about India. I was like, "Are people going to India?" And my family was like, "Yeah, like a lot of our family's going to India." I was like, "Why didn't I know that we're going to India?" They're like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." And then we went home, and I was like, "I think I want to go too." And then I went, and I mostly went. At the end of the day, not my entire family went. There's actually only a few of us, but there's a lot of people who are thinking about it. But I went primarily for studying my mother tongue. So I was studying Gujarati while I was there for 2 months. That's primarily what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. And I guess you have a much better knowledge of it now, or being immersed in the language.
A lot. Definitely a lot more. Sometimes I feel like whenever I travel to different places to learn a language, it's almost like until I've actually lived or spent some time in a country that speaks that language, I find I don't really have a deep understanding of the language. It's really weird. It's almost like when you're in the country, for me personally, because I'm more extroverted and everything, but I find that it helps you understand the culture more, understand a little bit more, like just about some of the regional jokes they make, some of the cultural references they make. And then when I come back, I go like, yeah, now I might not be perfect, but I understand them a lot more than I did before. So yeah, it was really
you get it.
Learned a lot.
You get it more.
Yeah.
So that's cool. How is English as a language over there? Is it really like the most common denominator for everybody? I mean, I understand that in India there's like, I don't know how many languages that
so
are
many
all over the place. so much that in India, English is basically the only common language, or with Hindi, I guess.
Well, yeah. So it basically, if you go in the north, basically everyone speaks Hindi as well as whatever the regional language is. Not everyone, but whatever, 90%, 95, like whatever. You can basically, you can expect to walk up to someone in the road, speak Hindi, and if they don't understand or can't speak to you, then that's probably weird. So that's how common. Now, when you go in the south, it's a different story. In the south, it's not quite like that. And it is more, if you're in the region of blah, 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 you have to speak blah, 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 their region's language. English is quite common. Depends where you go, obviously. So for example, I was in a relatively big city. So, you know, a decent amount of people would speak English, but my Gujarati would often be better than their English. So they would use Gujarati.
So as such, I mean, I work in IT, so there's a lot of resources, I guess, that are from India, developers and people in project management and things like that. And I was surprised when I first started working with a lot of them that many of them speak in English to each other because they don't understand each other's dialects.
Yeah, and what's interesting as well is it'll also depend on what circles you go in, what circles and what types of people you're talking to. So for instance, many people when they go, so in Gujarat, that's the region I was in, when they go to university, most of them don't study in Gujarati. They'll either study in Hindi or they will study in English. So one of my friends that I made there, he speaks Hindi, he speaks Gujarati, both are, you know, equally fluent, but he's also quite proficient in English because he does all of his engineering studies in English. So often, many people, when they go to university, they'll study in English. Like even though they might have done their school in, you know, actually, I don't know what they would have done in high school, but at any rate, they studied their university in English. And so imagine like an engineering textbook or something like that, they would need, you know, they would need at least the vocabulary to be able to get through their exams and be able to understand a lot of content at a minimum. So yeah,
I guess that explains why English is like Tetsu was saying, is like pretty much a common denominator across the country. Even though you do have probably 20, 30 different languages, I know there's many languages or dialects, variations of the language that are there, that exist.
Yeah.
Did you travel around a little bit?
No. I was in so 99% of the time I was in one city. I went to essentially a farm for about a few days, because there's a wedding there.
How long were you there, you said?
In India, 2 months.
Oh, wow.
So we went a few days to a farm where there's a wedding. And that was, for example, there, like even there's the farm and then there's a small like city, I guess you could say, small city or maybe large town right next to the farm. Even so there, for example, you're not seeing any English. There's no English happening there. It's all
more countryside.
Yeah, and the city is a city or a town or whatnot. Like it's not huge, but it's bigger. Even there, like when you look, you don't see any English on signs or anything. Versus in the city, you you see English more often around you than you would Gujarati or Hindi or anything. Versus in Porbandar, which is where I was, you're like, okay, this is pure Gujarati. Oh, interesting.
Is this the first time that you attended an Indian wedding in India?
No, this would have been the second time.
Yeah. I imagine it must be very different from what we do here. I mean, here we try to reproduce a little bit of the spirit or the traditions of what we have in our home countries. I know we Italians do that too. But I mean, if you go there, it's completely different. Like I imagine for you, it's a very different experience.
Well, the thing is that this wedding in particular, you know, I didn't even really know the people getting married, to be honest. And my grandma, well, it is distantly related, right? My grandma was going, she didn't know them super well. She knew them obviously, but not super well. She went, yes, to go to the wedding and all of that. But one of the appeals for her was that it was, how would it translate to English? I guess it would be like a farmer's wedding, like a countryside wedding. There we go, more of a countryside wedding. And they're different. They're very different than anything else we would have experienced. I went more for the experience, not because I was super close.
Is it like in the Bollywood movies? Do they do those dances and stuff like that? Or
So this one was a pretty simple wedding.
Okay.
It was an outdoor wedding. There's like big tents. There's like food being served. We ate on the ground. They did the ceremony. Relatively simple. It wasn't super duper elaborate. But what's interesting is, so Indian weddings, what's interesting about them is that they will span, it's not just the wedding day, it's like all the pre-wedding events.
I imagine.
For example, my aunt is getting married in, what's today? Like a week, or basically a week actually, she's getting married. So we have an event, and this is not even a lot, but we have an event on Friday evening. The day before we have something, obviously the day of we have the wedding event. In India, we had the reception in the south of India.
Mm-hmm.
They've been cooking for the wedding for like a month. I'm not even exaggerating. They've been cooking for a month, preparing, it's a whole process.
For sure.
Yeah.
It just adds to the experience. It makes it's fun. I guess for the people getting married, they must be the time this whole thing is over. But for everybody else, it's a fun experience.
Yeah, and probably one difference for like an Indian wedding compared to American or Canadian or whatever wedding would be that in Indian weddings, often like the parents often have a lot of say in the wedding and what's happening. So often the parents will plan a lot of it, because I don't fully know why it is, but a lot of the say will be the parents for what happens at the wedding. It's not fully the bride and groom.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in Italian culture, and my wife is from Ecuador also, the parents have a lot to do with it. Sometimes the wedding itself is for everybody else.
Yeah.
You just get to show up and they celebrate you. That's it. But,
yeah.
It's for families and things of the sort.
Well, let me take a minute to interrupt you guys to say hi to the folks watching right now. We have our very own Nicolas and our very own Paulino online. Paulino's asking, Azrin, if you had any specific language goals for your trip to India? And in your own assessment, how did you do?
Yes, and he's asking that on purpose because I actually emailed him while I was in India. He's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And I'm going to pull it up right now because I don't remember what I sent him, what I told him. What I told him my goals were. I think it was I wanted to get to, without taking any official assessment, a B1 a B2 in speaking and listening.
So what was the before and after?
Okay, so before going, I could not read and write, or barely. I knew the alphabet, but I did not read very well. Here we go. Quick thoughts. Here's the email I sent it. Perfect. So, so I was very poor in reading and writing. Before going, so actually, it's funny reading the email. I told him I had a B2 in speaking and listening. But when I went and I really started to be there, I realized I'm not really at a B2. Especially because my family speaks a very different dialect, like a very different dialect than what a standard dialect would be. And then I told him I want to get to an upper B2 or a low C1 in speaking and listening, and I wanted to get to like an A2 or B1 in reading and writing. So I don't know if I really got there. I probably now would say I have more of a comfortable, I would probably say I have a comfortable B2 in Gujarati now, speaking and listening wise. I'd say that. In terms of reading and writing, it's hard to say because maybe an A2 in reading and writing. It's hard to say because I can often read it, but I don't know a lot of the words, and the stuff I'm reading, there might be the thing with Gujarati is that there's a lot of English that's permeated the spoken language.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But when you read like a storybook, like a children's story, they're going to use like the pure Gujarati words often that nobody ever uses. So I would have never heard it anywhere. And when you ask someone, they're like, oh, yeah, that means committee. Oh, don't we just say committee? Yeah. But the real Gujarati word is that.
Is there only one official alphabet for India, for all of India, or does every region...
No, there's different. Every language has their own, but some of them are similar. So like Gujarati and Hindi, I can read some Hindi because I know. Actually, I can probably read a good amount of Hindi because the alphabets are very similar. Gujarati and Hindi. The biggest difference is that Gujarati has no line running across the top. Hindi, it's essentially the same letters as Gujarati, very similar, and they stick a line on top of them. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for you, I mean, by the time you finished, I guess your trip, it had sort of gelled together a little bit better in your head from what you had before, I guess.
Yeah, I think the main things that helped is now I can write relatively comfortably. I might spell things wrong because I might not ever try to spell it, but I can write pretty comfortably. Doesn't cost me time to like try and write something. I write pretty quickly. I can read slowly, but I can actually read now, which I couldn't before. When I listen to things, especially because I understand a lot of the dialect, like the difference between how my family speaks and how everybody else speaks, I can now actually understand a lot, most, especially if it's one-on-one, like if I can understand what's going on. And then I can communicate a lot better than before. So
how long have your parents been in Canada now? You were born in Canada?
My mom was grew up in Canada too.
Okay.
So
often,
go ahead.
I think often, language evolves with time, and people that immigrate, they sort of keep speaking the way they spoke it, their parents spoke it 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And when they go back, they realize, shit, people speak completely different.
It's more than that, actually, because it's a bit of a long story, but I'll shorten it. My grandparents, actually, my family spent about at least two, potentially three generations in Uganda. And so there's an African Gujarati. I'm sure there's some African style.
Wow,
So they're mixing. Number one, it's a different dialect. Number two, we mix some Swahili.
Okay.
Number three, my family's now been in Canada since 1972. So we mix some English, and there's some certain things we say that are just, we just say it here in Canada, that we just say in our family, in our circle. So those three things, and then you combine the fact that I grew up with my mom, and my mom speaks Gujarati well, like not perfectly, but well. But I grew up with her, but she's not perfect. So then there's a little bit of a decrease in level there from the transfer from to me, and all this mixed together.
So when you're in Canada, is this a language that you would use on a frequent basis? Is this something you speak at home with a certain person?
I used to. So yeah, when I was growing up, there's no English in the house. It was not allowed. It was my mom tried really hard to enforce Gujarati to the best of her ability.
Good for her.
So nowadays I kind of speak English, but I'll throw in random Gujarati words, and I have a bit of an accent in English when I speak at home.
Artificially just put an accent on there.
That's very common. When you're around people that speak in a certain way, you sort of switch and you start talking like them.
Here's the weird thing. My mom has no accent. My mom doesn't have one. My mom has no accent.
So why do you speak like that then?
Because I'm supposed to be speaking Gujarati in the house, and as a kid, if I didn't know a word, I would just say it in English with a bit of an accent to try and get away with it, and now it's everything. Yeah.
Well, so speaking of accents and dialects, how about you give us a little bit of a sneak preview to what you're going to be talking about at Lightfest? Yeah, so
my talk's all about essentially accent and dialectal differences and why they matter. So we'll focus on when there's a difference in accent or dialect, what are the different elements that change? Like what is the difference between dialect A and dialect B? So if I go to Peru versus Spain, or if I go to this region of Gujarat versus that region of Gujarat, or et cetera, this part of Italy, that part of Italy, or whatever, what are some core elements that change in every language? So whether it be accent or pronunciation, or certain vocabulary, certain, etc. And then I'm also going to talk specifically about some Spanish examples.
All right.
So things about how coastal regions tend to drop their S's at the end of syllables, or how, the classic one about Spain going th instead of s, right? Further C, Z. And yeah, it'll be digging into a lot of
that. Where did you learn your Spanish?
I started in high school. I took a couple of classes, and then I majored in it in French and Spanish in university, and then I spent would have been 2 months in Peru, 1 month in Chile, and very different dialects. When I went to Chile, I wasn't really learning. I was pretty fluent by the time I went there. I was just visiting a friend, but it definitely helps to be in that environment anyway. I think the biggest, apart from just studying it for a long time, I think one of the main things that helped me is that when I was in university, there's a room called El Centro Español,
Mm-hmm.
which basically was like the Spanish center. It's a room where it's open to anyone who's learning Spanish. You can go ask for homework help, ask to hang out, like just do whatever you want in that room. And I probably spent, at least for the first few years of university, 2 to 5 hours a day in that Spanish center. And I would just sit there and try and talk and listen. I would more often than not have no idea what's going on. So I'd be like, this is so hard.
So they adopted you as one of them.
Yeah, I just kind of was there all the time, and I became very good friends with the lady who worked there because I was just there. That was a big help.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So we're really looking forward to having you. I mean, it's happening very soon. I think there's less than 90 days. I don't know what the exact countdown
Like
is.
2 months.
If you go on our Langfest page, I can see it.
Or 3 months, right? I think it's like 3 months to the day almost, no? Isn't it?
That could be. I can tell you the exact amount of days to the minute before Langfest. Or to the second even. How do we have it set up? There's 87 days, 21 hours, and 34 minutes left before Langfest. You know, sometimes we work so hard to put these things together, and like doing the calendar, getting all the speakers, setting up getting the volunteers and things of the sort. Like you're one of the speakers this year. This all came together in the last couple of weeks. A lot of people like you had submitted their proposals a long time ago. We knew we wanted to have you, but now we can confirm, yes, you are going to be one of the speakers at our event.
Yay.
Well, go ahead, Tetsu, sorry.
No, I didn't say anything.
No, I just said yay.
Yeah, oh, no, that's sorry. So, so this year we have, I mean, it's going to start, the conference in itself starts on a Friday like last year. There's a lot of pre-conference activities, tour guides. Did you participate in any of that last year?
No, I did not.
You arrived late, eh?
What? I didn't arrive late.
No,
did you arrive on Tuesday?
They start on the 20. It starts as of the Tuesday on the 21st. Then, if you've never been to Montreal, or if you're coming for the second time but you didn't take part in that last time because you arrived late, like Tetsu said,
I see
you missed out on the cool parts. Well, an also cool part. The conference in itself is fun. It's great. You get to talk to and exchange with a lot of people, but if you get there a little bit before, and we invite people very strongly to get there before, if they have the means to do so, you get to see guided tours, go to the mountains, get a little bit of a flavor of the different neighborhoods of Montreal, the English neighborhoods, the French neighborhoods, and things of the sort. Gives you a different appreciation for the city than if you just come down for the event, do your 3 days of conference, and then go back.
You do all that with fellow language learners. You know, that's
exactly.
That's really the key element, I think. It's not just visiting Montreal or Quebec, but it's really about visiting Montreal with fellow language
with the local
lovers.
People also.
Yeah. And that mingling is definitely a great
It's part of the fun of going to those types of events. Mm-hmm. Prior to coming to Langfest, had you ever been to any of those language conferences, Azra?
Just Langfest.
That's
the only one. Yeah.
Yeah. So in any case, I mean, we're very happy that we give people like you and everyone across North America, I guess, an opportunity to be able to go to these types of events. Tetsu and I got the chance to go to Polyglot Conference 3 or 4 years ago when we went, when it was in New York. It completely blew us away, and that's why we're holding this event now, because we thought it was really a fun experience. But either way, it's a fun event, and it's not just about the 3 days. We're purposely putting a lot of cultural and fun activities before. So if you haven't bought your ticket yet, try to think about coming a couple of days before. It'll be worth your while. It'll be fun. Have you bought your ticket already?
Yeah, I have my ticket.
Your flight.
I think. Oh, my flight. I was like, I was trying to figure. I was like, am I like missing?
No, not your ticket.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm like,
your flight to come to Montreal.
I have bought my flight actually.
And are you coming on the 24th or are you coming before?
I was coming on the 24th, on the 23rd of the evening. To be honest.
Oh.
I was looking. To be honest, I was thinking about. I just don't know if I can afford it. To be honest, because then I have to take all my time from work for everything. Wasn't sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of factors. Like I said, if you have the means.
Yeah.
But part of that is part of the cultural events are part of the fun. If you get there on the 23rd, which is the day on the Thursday, and you don't get here too late,
Yep.
we usually have some kind of get together, cocktails, stuff like that we get together. Like for the last 2 years, we did it at Saint-Sulpice in Montreal.
Yep.
It's a nice place in downtown Montreal with a big terrace.
Yep.
I don't know if you got the chance to attend last year.
No, I didn't attend that. I've been to Montreal now. This will be the third time. The first time I went was as a part of a university trip, as part of one of our courses, actually.
And you did the bar crawl, the pub crawl, and you went through Saint-Sulpice. It's beautiful in the summer.
Yeah, so it's good.
Beautiful in the summer. So for us, it's just an excuse to go there again. But for people that come from far away, we get to show them a nice part of the Montreal vibe in the summer.
I'll look at it. I mean,
that's transformed in the summer.
I'll look at it. I'd like to come, and I'll be honest. I've been thinking about it. I have the ticket for the 24th. I've been trying to. Yeah, I mean, I'll see. I might change my flight to come earlier, but we'll see.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, this is not just a message to you. I'm just passing a message through you right now, but it's to anyone and everyone that watches this. If you are thinking of coming to Montreal, you're going to attend the event, and you have to get a flight. Might be worthwhile to come a couple of days before, because the cultural parts of the event are part of the experience too. And you're missing out if you just come for the 3 days that are going to be at the university. So that's it. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Do you have anything else that you're preparing for your final trip, or you're just working hard and trying to be able to get yourself here on time?
No, nothing over the next few months. Nothing crazy really going on. Same old stuff. Really, teaching different languages and just.
So your day job is this language related? I mean, are you like teaching on a full-time basis?
Yeah, so I teach English, French, and Spanish on a full-time. It's my job. All privately. So
but in a classroom setting, I suppose?
No. So I just usually small groups and or one-on-one. Yep. Okay. So sometimes it's classroom, and then sometimes I'll do language weekends. So it'll be like a group of people, and we have different,
That's what ties you down in your city. Whereas,
exactly.
Saying a digital nomad, which I thought you were.
No, no, I like it all. It is mostly local. There's some people I teach on Skype or whatnot, but I used to teach mostly online. I didn't like it actually. After a while, I was like, man, I didn't like being in front of the computer all the time, and just wasn't a fan. So I was like, you know what, I don't want to do that. So I just made it mostly local. With sometimes I'll do some online stuff. I've a few people, but mostly local.
No, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. So I mean, you get to live in your everyday life languages, and you share your passion for languages and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
So have you checked out our speakers lineup, the ones that are already on the website? Yeah.
I was looking at that. I saw mine. I was like, hey, that's me.
got a few pretty good. We're pretty proud of our lineup again this year. I mean, every year we go, wow, how do we beat last year's lineup? And quite amazing. We've got some great folks. We just did a call out to to get proposals from the folks, and some of these guys, wow, guys and girls, we've got some pretty interesting stuff coming up.
How many talks are there going to be going around? Like, what's the projected amount that you're thinking right now for talks?
We're looking at about 20 or so of talks, and another 20 or so of workshops, give or take.
So it's going to be a pretty intense 3 days.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
At many times, like last year, we have several sessions. So there'll be depending on the topic, you'll have to choose a topic that's most of interest to you and go to that. And
we're gonna give the folks that big good problem like last year, I think, where you have 3 tracks going, and just gonna have to make a decision and find the right one for you, and then watch the video for the other ones.
My favorite part of last year was, I liked the talks. I liked a lot of them I went to. My favorite part though was the banquet, actually.
Oh wow!
I
you
enjoyed
went
that
to
a
the
lot.
banquet last year?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On the Saturday, the gala, or the picnic on the Sunday?
Sorry,
gala,
like the Saturday one, the gala.
gala,
Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. I really liked that.
Well, our organizer Jen and Baja told me that they're gonna enhance the experience this year. Now, I mean,
Raising the bar once again.
It's already amazing last year. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but we've got some good stuff to look forward to.
That's it. We don't even know ourselves what they have in store. But we just know that it's going to be fun.
I hope they have the photo booth again. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was good.
So they'll incorporate that, and probably there'll be more things that they add again.
Nice.
It is a fun event, and it's a fun part of the event to get the chance to get together, have a little bit of fun, eat, exchange with some of the speakers, like yourself. You're a speaker too this year, so people will get a chance to sit down with you, talk about your language experience, and I guess it's one of the cool things about going to those types of events. So I'm happy that you enjoyed it, because that's what we were. That's all. That's our goal, always, to try to come up with interesting things, I guess, that are going to engage the people that come and things of the sort.
Right. It's got to stay fresh, and we've got new ideas, and a lot. We're really focusing a lot on social. So because, like I said, it's not just about going there and listening or watching talks. It's really about the interaction with the others. So that's where you make friends for life, network. Whatever you do.
We're in talks with one of our sponsors right now to hold some kind of language games, Olympiads of sorts, or we're not sure exactly where that's going to go, but it should be fun. And that's probably going to take place on a Friday, I think.
Cool.
Am I correct on that assumption, Tetsu?
Yeah.
That's probably going to take place on a Friday? Yeah.
Most likely.
So if your plane lands on time, you can take part, Azran.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I will take part at anything, whatever day I arrive. I'll take part in the activities that are possible for me to attend without going backwards in time.
That's it. So either way, Azran, it was a pleasure having you online. We're really looking forward to seeing you.
It's a pleasure being on there. It's a pleasure.
And I'm sure it's glad to see that you're contributing in a very positive way to the I guess the language movement that's going viral around the world, and keep it up.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you with us.
Right.
Likewise.
So if we take one last minute, Joey, perhaps you want to do a little announcement on the crowdfunding situation. What's coming up?
Okay, so we are officially launching our crowdfunding campaign as of today. You can go on our Facebook site, and you'll see the link in French and in English to our page. It's a campaign that's going to be open for a short while, but we're trying to capture funds that are going to be able to help us, like I said, offer the Langfest experience to those that would perhaps not have the means to be able to do so. And it also helps us meet our objectives of being able to have enough funds to be able to hold this event and ensure that next year Langfest will be here once again.
Just to prepare some great activities for everybody.
Yeah, that's it. So I mean, crowdfunding, basically, Langfest is here because of you. We wouldn't exist if it wouldn't be for the people that attend, for our sponsors, for people that believe in us and stuff like that. Every little penny counts and helps. Contributions, no matter the amount, are very, very well appreciated.
The website is open now, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. You
Fantastic.
can go. Anyone can go now and donate if they so desire.
ulule.ca and look for Langfest. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Goodbye from Tokyo. It is 1:39 a.m. here.
Wow.
And a good day to everybody else, and have a great weekend. See you next week.
Bye. Thanks, Tetsu. Bye, Azra.
Bye
See
now.
you.